You trying to use my headset here, so hopefully I'm coming through. Um, it's been a bit. In fact, I don't really go live on YouTube alone, and especially using my phone. This is my first time. I usually use the StreamYard platform, but I went ahead and canceled it for now. Those of you that have watched my video a few weeks ago, um, that I did share from Facebook and YouTube on the StreamYard, was that I was leaving Facebook and Instagram, and I did, and it has been amazing. Let me just tell you, getting off of being a user for programs that make people rich and make them billionaires, is to, again, stop feeding a lot of the system here that we think is taking advantage of us, but we are the ones feeding it. We are the ones giving the money. Giving our becoming a user allows for more advertisement, more people, more money. It reminds me of the recent ban that was on TikTok, which was a joke, so that Facebook could take over. Um, it was only off for 12 hours, came back on and showed that it was owned by Meta 2025 on the user agreement. Um, they were many on their creators were saying that if 30% of TikTok deleted Facebook and Instagram, it would cost Zuckerberg would lose like $1.5 billion just by that. So we are contributing to these billionaires, but that's not why I came on here. I don't want to get into politics. Point is when I went off Facebook and Instagram, that was part of it, but it was really about the fact that I was losing my peace, my sanity, just too many voices, too many perspectives, too much extreme stuff, and too much censorship. And I'm hoping that YouTube won't censor me because I said that. Um, but what I wanted to come on here and talk about is the results of how uh, leaving those social network platforms have actually brought peace to my life and allowed me to live in the now. And I want to go deeper into that of why I've kind of come into this space here. You know, I totally believe that. Uh, oh, look, I'm already getting a review here. Potentially inappropriate messages are held for review. All right. Okay. So well, we're going to see what happens here. But anyway, I'm already getting some. I don't know if somebody's commenting and doesn't like it or YouTube doesn't like what I'm saying. But either way, I'm going to share it because it needs to be shared. The only reason I'm still on YouTube uh, is because of the fact that they have not spent as much time censoring me as, like, let's say Facebook. Now TikTok censors everything, so it's not even worth using anymore. But I'm not coming on here to be political or to hate on any group. Just on here sharing my own experience. And my own experience is that basically I went through a lot of religion. I went through, 37 years as a preacher. There's still a lot of videos on Life Imagined that are from back in the day. I leave them there to show my progress, to show what I've come out of. And I went through a lot of that. And then I became spiritual and began to just rebrand a lot of religious stuff onto the other side, which is uh, what we would call spirituality, whether it's new age, metaphysical, that type of thing. And again, I'm not against any of it. What I believe is that our minds, um, we cannot handle ultimate reality, and so because of that, we use mythology and religion to kind of make sense of the world that we live in. Now, I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't do that. I'm saying that's what we've been doing. Um, what I do believe is we are about to outgrow a lot of that. And we are coming into a place where we're going to learn that we are enough as humans. And when I say human, I don't mean the definition of a finite physical person that is weak and beggarly and has no control, or what religion would say to give you that little carrot to claim a superior place if you follow the religious route. I believe that religion and spirituality are the cap on our potential, and this is why we continuously chase our own tails, continuously apply spiritual realities that only work about a third of the time, the same as a placebo effect. And we cling to it as our identity, but are not really seeing the change that we proclaim it's going to bring. And what I found is that where you cannot accept yourself and receive yourself, religion and spirituality become the alternative. And so it becomes the alternative that even though it might be what we have to do because we can't face ourselves, it was never meant to sustain us. It was meant to bring us to the place of facing ourselves. Very, very, the same way as Christianity. Christianity was designed, again, this is not against anybody, but Christianity has so many holes in it. The Bible has so much holes in it. There's no real proof of anything. It's all just going on whatever is going through the mind of people, which they're claiming truth. And it doesn't mean that Jesus didn't exist. It just means that that Christianity made Jesus their mascot, and Jesus really had nothing to do with that religion. But what it comes down to is, like, for instance, Christianity. If you really truly study everything about it without going through the filter of a preacher or somebody who's going to dogmatically try to convince you of its accuracy, but you just read it from a neutral place, you study from a neutral place, you will become an atheist. It is meant to make you an atheist because it has too many holes in it, in the sense of what it's really about. And the base level of it is, well, you've got to be a victim in order to receive it. You've got to be somebody that has a lot of self-hatred and self-judgment in order to join the club. And you're only good enough if you comply with this made-up God and made-up Savior. Okay. I was in it for 37 years. Okay. And I'm not saying that everybody's going to agree with me. I know people aren't, and that's okay. Maybe you were just a churchgoer. Maybe you weren't, front and center, behind the scenes with the politics, or, constantly, being threatened. I think the only threats I've ever received is from Christians, whether I was a Christian or not. So I've never really received any type of threats except as a Christian. Now, again, I don't despise it. I just know that it's not healthy, and I will let people know it's not healthy. But I still needed it. And I needed to walk through that. Kind of like if your mind is so fractured that you have, in a sense, rejected different aspects of yourself and repressed them and hid them from your view. And now through storytelling and through creating external characters representing those parts that we call heroes, whether it's Jesus or Paul the Apostle or Moses or Elijah, those are really aspects of ourself that we've turned into stories to try and reconcile aspects of ourself that other parts of our mind won't let us because of the extreme lie of separation that we've believed within ourselves, where we've, in a sense, despised or rejected aspects of ourselves. So to me, that is the only reason we have religion, is to start to work through, almost as a therapy, different aspects of the self that have been rejected. And when I say the self, I don't mean an actual self, like a self that you somehow came up with as a child, because you didn't. Your sense of self was given to you by your parents, by the culture, by the religion. You didn't have a choice in it. You were fed what you were told to be based on what everybody else wanted to live through you. Okay. And so you didn't even have a self until you were programmed with a self. As an infant, you had experiences without self-reflection or self-talk. And that's actually the way in which we are able to live in the now, have an experience without concluding upon it or judging it. And so this brings me to the whole message here that I wanted to bring to you. And that is that the illusion of self, and when I say the illusion of self, I don't want you to think about this as, well, if I don't have a self, then I'm not me. Like if I don't have a self, I'm not Brian, I'm going to be a robot. I'm just going to talk to you like this. And no, that's not what that really is. Not having an illusion of self is not having a structure that's kind of like a spider web that simply is catching flies that are lies in which we're wrapping up and eating them as our sustenance. In other words, we're not moved by the opinions of others because we're not mirroring anything to see if we're right or wrong. We're not judging ourselves or others because judgment is based on a mere reflection of whether our self has measured up or not measured up. The whole mirror effect goes away. The whole comparing and competing goes away. So what we're left with is a raw experience of life that has no performance-based agenda to measure up, to condemn, to pass or fail. And this is actually where true accountability comes in. You can never be accountable to you outside of a total acceptance of you. And the you that's being accepted is simply the lens that's having a neutral experience that doesn't need to judge its experience as good or bad. Now, that doesn't mean that you're in a place where you're just allowing terrible things to happen to you, going, oh, this is wonderful. You're going to feel the pain of a bad experience. You're going to adjust and say, no, I don't want to have this experience anymore. But you not having the experience is not based on a hatred, a revenge, an injustice, something that would be mirrored to a programmed self that is programmed to see and think in a certain way in which it now judges of whether to retain or to let go. There will be no retaining or letting go. There'll simply be an experience that you either move your space and you don't choose to have one again, or you continue in that space to choose to have that one again. And so the experience is not judged based on a personification. It is judged based on whether it bore fruit and what kind of fruit it produced. But it won't be based on your performance or your inadequacy or adequacy. Okay, and so this is where we actually transcend. This is the neutral observer. This is where, and here's what's funny, because spirituality will tell you you need to be a neutral observer, that's what it's all about, being a neutral observer. And yet, it'll say don't have any attachments. But yet, the moment you let go of spirituality as an attachment, spirituality then says, well, you're not being spiritual. Now you're wrong because you've let go of spirituality, and yet that's an attachment. And so understanding that, you know, and this might be hard for some of you to get, but understanding that the illusion of self is what has created the ego self, the higher self, all of these different characters within the mind. That's almost like a schizophrenic mind that is now balancing itself or trying to uh, hold itself together. That's what spirituality offers. And so to come out of spirituality and to simply be human, Hueman, the hue, the frequency-based vibrational energy consciousness that you are, that's experiencing a projected world of the mind and building structures out of its delusions to make sense of this world, will eventually enter a state in which you are simply having a now experience without a conclusion. And so that is basically, again, not denial of your existence. It's you experiencing from a neutral place without the need of self-evaluation, without the need of judgment or conclusions. It's never going to happen in spirituality or religion, because religion and spirituality is always at an it's you talking to you at arm's length. It's you behind a wall getting to know yourself. It's you accepting the acceptance of a group that has accepted you through that dogma because you let go of self-acceptance. So wherever we don't accept ourselves or embrace ourselves is where we end up joining a group to compensate for our own self-rejection. Now, where we've accepted ourselves, we can move in and out of any of those systems, dogma, or the indoctrination of it. And this is what makes it beautiful. And so I encourage you, if you want to live in the now and have a now experience, did you come to earth to evaluate your life, or did you come to earth to live your life? All right. If you're going to live your life, let go of the need to be a truth seeker. Truth seekers only seek truths because of the fear of deception. The fear of deception is a judgment that says, I am inadequate and I am not enough. Therefore, I have to create a truth-seeking module in order to measure up, to keep my ducks in a row, to watch my own back. So it technically is a flight or fight mode response. So we were programmed to be truth seekers, but we weren't born to be truth seekers. We were born to be life experiencers. So to be a life experiencer means that you've come to the end of asking questions to get answers, to watch yourself, to watch your own back, to measure up, to make sure you're in accord. And you're now having an experience by reason of an acceptance embrace in which every experience, whether negative or positive, simply passes through you rather than getting entangled in you. When we hear terms like the nervous system needs to be cleared out, your field needs to be cleared, it only needs to be cleared because you're exercising spiritual activity that is avoiding true self-regulation by acceptance. So when you come into acceptance, every experience passes through you and doesn't get caught in you. But through that, you are cognitively able to say, I'd like to have this experience again. Or, you know what? I'm not going to have that experience again. And you move on. Now, what keeps you stuck in having the same experience you don't want to have is in the spiritual bubble of the law of attraction. So the law of attraction, even though there is a truth to it at one level, has been spiritualized to be a quick money-making scheme that never works. And so the more you attempt to get the universe to give you what you want from a place of lack, you end up with lack in return. This is kind of how it works. The more you try to rest in your spirituality to get everything around you to work for you, the more it will backfire, because it is all in the name of self-avoidance, or avoidance of embracing everything I am in the midst of everything that's happened or everything I've believed. I hope this message has helped you. I hope that you will consider thinking about breaking the cap off of your potential by embracing whatever you are without the need to figure it out, to simply have a now experience so that you can self-regulate. Love y'all. I'll see you soon.